I think that the problem is here is that you and your brother refuse to take accountability for the actions of Black people. For some reason, you think they're just absolved of everything just because of the color of their skin. You're not talking about at any point that he was schizophrenic and that he was on K2 Spice, which is an illegal substance that makes you absolutely crazy. And you're not, and you see the dad come out and he wants to now sue Daniel Penny for money. Where was his daddy at this whole time? What Black Lives Matter should be doing is that you should be encouraging fathers to be in their sons' lives, because he wouldn't be on the streets struggling and begging for food on a subway train if somebody was there for him and supported him. How about Black Lives Matter support the man before he dies?
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Hopefully you all had a Merry Christmas, and also it's the beginning of Hanukkah, and we celebrate, I guess, both around here, but hopefully you guys enjoyed your holiday. I had a lot of cooking to do. I had to take 2 days off. You guys understand. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about, of course, BLM, but also about the co-founder of BLM of Greater New York. Her name is Shavona Newsom. We've got Brandon Tatum. We've also got Wilfred Riley, who is an author, and they're talking about the whole Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely situation. They have various views about what actually happened, and there are some really good nuggets of information. And I want you guys to understand something, that in the world that we live in, there is a narrative that is trying to be pushed, that is trying to drive a wedge between the different ethnicities of people. But before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, watch the video all the way to the very end. Now let's get into it. Okay, so here we have, Shavona Newsom, we have Wilfred Riley, Brandon Tatum, who you guys are familiar with. He has his own show on YouTube. And for those of you who don't know, because I'm going to talk about it a little bit in this clip, and I'm just going to show you the highlights, but I'll put the full link in the description. For those of you who don't know, DA Alvin Bragg colluded with the medical examiner's office to come up with the cause of death as being from a chokehold. So Alvin Bragg colluded to get a certain outcome. But in our judicial system, we are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If there is any doubt, any reasonable doubt, you have to let the person go. That's just how our judicial system is. So let's look at this.
Said some things really for both sides, but also said, I was barricaded with my kid behind this carriage as this homeless lunatic, this crazy vagrant screamed and shouted. And then finally, these guys stepped forward and intervened in the situation. So to present this as guy had some demons inside him, he was asking for water. No, I mean, if someone says, I'm going to kill you, and someone else grabs him, that's not an unprovoked response against a Black man in Donald Trump's America or something like that.
Brandon Tatum, given the background of Jordan Neely that Wilfred Riley has outlined, do you think that Daniel Penny did the right thing and that he actually saved people from being injured?
As a former police officer, when I first saw the video, I knew that he will not be found guilty. And the reason why I knew that, because I understand the law. You cannot have a person on a train threaten the lives of other people and take a threatening stance. There were multiple people who testified that they felt like their life was in danger.
But Brandon, Shavona says that she believes, and numerous experts have presented, that the choke was held for too long.
I mean, that's up for debate. When I watched the clip, I don't think that the choke was held too long, and I don't think it was a legitimate choke. If you look at anyone that is a professional fighter, anyone that's trained in doing a carotid choke, which that's what people claim that it was, you won't last more than 5 seconds if someone applies an appropriate carotid choke. If you are to hold somebody down for 6 minutes, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a person struggle for a duration of time. That is not a legitimate choke. Anybody that fights in the MMA, anybody that fights professionally, mixed martial arts, they will tell you, if you try to do that choke in a fight, you will lose. So I don't think Daniel Penny applied an appropriate choke in order to hurt the guy. I think he was doing the best he could to control his head and hold him down until the police responded.
On that point, you and Shavona are going to have a dispute. Let's move on to the BLM reaction now.
before they move on to the BLM reaction, because it was a very, Shavona Newsom, the lady here, she is co-founder of BLM Greater New York with her brother. Okay, and you notice that BLM only comes out when it's a situation where the person is white, who supposedly, I'm not saying they're the cause of it, but unalived a black person. You know, that's the only time they come out. They never talk about the black on black crime. They never come out when it's something like that. 80 to 90% of black deaths are caused by black on black crime. Where are these people when all this is going on? They really, one of the things that Brandon Tatum says is that Black Lives Matter does not care about black people. The white guy here in the middle, Wilfred Riley, says that, you know, he's the author of Hate Crime Hoax. Remember, you know, Jussie Smollett, the whole hoax. These are hoaxes. And the media perpetrates this by hiding certain details of what actually happened. That's why people get mad when the verdict comes out a certain way, because we never got the facts through the media in the first place. And then they spin this racist narrative around it. So I remember being upset when Trayvon Martin, you know, I thought George Zimmerman was the cause of his death, but there were details that were left out from the public being, you know, we were not made aware of all the details. Okay. The media did not give us all the details. And then they allowed this narrative to be spun around it. And then BLM and all these other riots and things took place, and people were angry because we never got the full details. I believe if we got full details, we would be like, oh, all this stuff wouldn't have happened. You know, the media intentionally did this. Also, Brandon Tatum believes that BLM is a militant arm of the Democratic Party. And it fits in with their narrative of always accusing someone else of being racist, the chaos, they control the media. It fits very perfectly. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are. You know, I just wouldn't be surprised if they are. But I want to pause and show you a clip of a person saying what happened.
Young lady right here.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you see?
What did I see? I was sitting over there. I heard the young man that's on the floor saying, you know, hey, I'm willing to die. You know, I'll do anything. I'm willing to die. I'll go to jail. I don't care. I don't care. And he was saying it so loud that everyone turned around. So this young man, he got belligerent and he tackled him down. The one that just passed away in the brown jacket, the one that just went past.
That's not the clip that I wanted to show. There was another clip of a black lady saying that she felt her life was in danger. She was so scared. She never been so scared in her life. I couldn't find that one. But this is what I think they were not wanting you all to see. They didn't want us to see. They wanted to make this about race because it fits in with the narrative. But let's get back and see some of these other high points of this conversation.
And Shavona, your brother Hawk Newsom, quite a prominent man in New York. The two of you established this chapter of BLM, if you like. He was out on the streets the same day calling for black vigilantes to, quote, do the same as Daniel Penny. Presumably, if you were to extend that, he means he would like to see black vigilantes choking white people for being too loud. Is that what he means?
No. And I think that we can't misquote his word. Donald Trump and Mayor Eric Adams called for people to stand up and step up like Daniel Penny. So Eddie Gibson, who was a man on the train, the one who had begged for Daniel Penny to stop because he said that Jordan had defecated in urine on himself. Imagine if he would have put Daniel Penny in a chokehold. Jordan Neely would still be here. Black people, we can no longer sit. We can no longer sit back and record while our own people are being killed. We see the same rhetoric being praised by Donald Trump, being praised by Mayor Eric Adams, and being praised by all of the MAGA-tards who support this lunacy. So why is it blown out of proportion when a black person says that? We can't defend ourselves?
Yeah, come in, Brandon.
Well, I think that the problem is that you and your brother refuse to take accountability for the actions of black people. For some reason, you think they're just absolved of everything just because of the color of their skin. You're not talking about at any point that he was schizophrenic and that he was on K2 Spice, which is an illegal substance that makes you absolutely crazy. And you're not, and you see the dad come out and he wants to now sue Daniel Penny for money. Where was his daddy at this whole time? What Black Lives Matter should be doing is that you should be encouraging fathers to be in their sons' lives, because he wouldn't be on the streets struggling and begging for food on a subway train if somebody was there for him and supported him. How about Black Lives Matter support the man before he dies? Support him before he's on K2 Spice. Support him while he's schizophrenic and get him the help that he deserves. Instead, you guys are out here talking about vigilante justice, trying to, fight fire with fire. What we need to do is hold Black people accountable, and we would never have a Jordan Neely.
Just a quick.
Woo. He said a mouthful. Brandon Tatum said a mouthful. And that's what I'm saying. If you really want to help people, deal with the root cause of what got them on the street, schizophrenic and out of their minds in the first place. Get fathers back in the homes, Black people, all people. I don't want to put color on anything, because anybody that does the crime needs to do the time. And if they got a mental issue, they need to get mental help. And let me just say this. There is a hole in the mental health care system. I know someone I love who deals with mental health issues, and this hell, I've seen it. People trying to get help for their loved ones and can't get help. And there's a problem in the state of Georgia. So if you guys know any kind of connection to Donald Trump and this incoming administration, we need to do something. Let them get in touch with me. ChatWithMeLindaB at gmail.com so I can get this person the help that they need. Okay, because there is a hole in mental health, and it is not helped by the current administration, because they're more focused on sending billions of dollars overseas. Okay, take accountability. If someone does the crime, they do the time. And I agree with Brandon Tatum. It's like Black people can just do what they want to do. Look in California, you can steal up to $950 of merchandise. How are people going to stay in business? How are people going to stay employed if they keep losing money like this? And it's white guilt that people feel like, well, I can't say anything. I can't because the person's Black. I'm going to do another video about white guilt. Prepare for it. Okay. I don't hold back on this channel. I'm sick and tired of white people acting like they got to go along with foolishness because you don't want to be called a racist. If you don't want to go for any foolishness, just stand 10 toes down on what you believe in. You don't owe anybody any explanation. I just call it like I see it. I got to get on to some foolishness out here. And I love everybody. So don't take that the wrong way. But someone commented in one of my lives saying they voted for Obama because they did not want to be called a racist. I didn't even vote for Obama. I don't mean to get all off topic here, but we have got to take accountability. What good is it doing for Black people to commit crimes and be just released? Don't have to do any time or whatever. What? That's going to increase crime in a particular community because they feel like they can get away with it. And that's the case for anybody. If you let people get away with stuff, they keep pushing the envelope. That does not help that particular community. Black Lives Matter does not care about Black people. I will repeat it. Black Lives Matter does not care about Black people. They don't. They made a bunch of money, millions of dollars, and that money went towards some charities that are involved. You know what? I'll let you hear it.
Quick answer and a response from all of you, Shavona and then Wilfred, and then we have to move on. Shavona, just quickly, please.
Officer Tatum, I need you to hold white people responsible. I need you to no longer deny racism. We fed over 250,000 people. Jordan Neely, you're blaming his family, but where was Daniel Penny's family during the trial? The only people who showed up were subpoenaed. He's estranged from his relative. The man was selling T-shirts at a shop. You made him into a national hero when he was a drifter and a bum. Jordan Neely was a 30-year-old man, and countless friends and family members showed up and said, hey, we searched for him, we find him, and he would want.
Shavona, we have to. We take your point. We have to move on to the broader point about BLM returning. Wilfred, just a quick response, though, please, Wilfred.
Yeah, I mean, so this whole thing about like we need black vigilantes. First of all, if a decorated black Marine had gotten into a fight with a white drifter that threatened an entire train car and the white drifter had ended up dying, nothing would have happened. That wouldn't have been a national story at all. Mayor Adams might well have given that guy a medal. So, I mean, if that's what's being referred to, I don't really think anyone has a problem with that. Also, this idea that it's 1862 and white people are regularly attacking black people, this is actually something I professionally researched. Like classic interracial crime, like white on black or black on white violent crime, that's about 3% of serious crime every year. It's 80% black on white.
Can I just pick up on a point that Brandon was making, which is that BLM needs to support black people more? They've done a phenomenal job back in 2020 of raising funds. They revealed themselves, Black Lives Matter Global Network revealed it took in $90 million in donations in 2020. But curiously, only a third of that went to charitable donations. Now, just have a listen to the reaction of journalists when they heard that news.
$60 million of BLM's war chest is currently missing. Poof. Just like that, it's gone.
Black people were exploited. Black Americans were exploited by Black Lives Matter for the personal gain of a few.
We found that $30+ million went to the stock market. I thought this was about tearing down the institutions of white supremacy.
Siobhan, I do appreciate that your organization in New York is not a BLM Global Network, and indeed your brother has called for them to account for what's going on with all that money. But do you accept that they've somewhat tarnished the reputation of the movement?
I think that they gave racism an amazing excuse to discredit the millions of people who came out to march for George Floyd. We own a Montessori school, which provides a $50,000 free education to 86 kids, 250,000 people fed. Last night, I was in the nation's poorest congressional district handing out Christmas trees to people who can't afford them. But if you talk about money, if you talk about the fraud of others, then you discredit what I'm saying. But we don't talk about the CEOs who have stolen from the healthcare industry or the petroleum industry.
Why did your brother ask for an investigation into the missing 60 million then?
Okay. She went off when she talked about CEOs and all that kind of stuff. And the host had to say, wait a minute, but why did your brother want an investigation into all this money? She just went off on a tangent, trying to deflect.
I think they need to be held accountable because people trusted in them and people donated to them. We never received a portion of that budget, but yet we find a way to uplift our community every day. Over the last 4 years, we've been doing the real work in our community.
Really, Wilfred, I know you've looked into the funding of BLM and in quite some detail.
Yeah, and I think it's important to draw a distinction here between local civil rights groups that might spar with me and Brandon, but that do things in the community, and national organizations. So like what's being referred to as BLM GNF, which is Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Now, I will say the amount of money that was raised by everything affiliated with BLM GNF wasn't 90 million, it was 11.6 billion. You can check that out. That was The Economist in the UK in, I believe, October of 2020. That includes corporate pledges and so on down the line. Myself and Fraser Myers over at Spiked UK, great guy, tried to track that money down. It was very difficult. What we found actually was that the sort of Patrice Cullors national or international Black Lives Matter wasn't very focused on what you could call sort of the hood and the holler, like core poverty issues. The founders of the group began as primarily LGBT activists, and the money that we could find went to a lot of causes like that, like For the Girls, which, if I can recall, was a travel project for Black sex workers, Transgender Travel Fund, the Okra Project, which is another sort of thing like that. A lot of the money, 6- and 7-figure donations, went along those lines. But yeah, I mean, you can't help but notice that the BLM core organization took in hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and spent it on some stuff that people didn't necessarily expect, while the founders got some very large homes. So yeah, I mean, I think most people would call for an investigation there.
See what I mean? I mean, people were taking people's terror and tragedies and turning it into monetary gain for themselves. And I believe, just like Brandon Tatum said, he said that BLM is the military arm of the Democratic Party. And you know, when I said I wouldn't be surprised if a rich Democrat, Soros or somebody, actually funded this, actually made it something, you know, was the engine behind it being formed. And then, of course, these queer women, queer Black women, because I told you I did another video, and I'll link it at the end of this one, that I have a video called Why I Hate Groups with the Word Black in them. I don't have any issue with Black people or myself or anything like that. But if you look at the name will sound good, but it actually does harmful things. And I think sometimes we get caught up in names, but we're not looking deeper into what the group is actually about. BLM began with some other Black women, but Patrice Cullors was one of them. And before there was a backlash, they had on their website that they were against the nuclear family. They were actually against, they were for queerness. Okay. And I told y'all, all these groups with Black in them, if you look at what they give awards to or who they give awards to, like NAACP Image Awards to Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, because they were supportive of his son who actually wants to be a girl. I mean, these are the things that are being praised, that are being uplifted. And all of these groups, just about all of them, not every single one. I think the United Negro College Fund is okay until I do some deeper research on them. If I find something nefarious, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, I think they're really doing what they're supposed to do. But the other ones, they're promoting queerness. They're promoting alphabet mafia stuff. And that's being pushed and promoted behind the scenes by rich people, rich liberals, racist liberals. I'm just saying, it's the truth. It is the truth. And people sometimes they don't want to hear the truth. You know, we want to be, you know, I don't know, oppressed and all of that stuff. But I'm telling you, all the organizations that they were giving money to, the charities that were BLM was giving money to, all of the charities, Okra Project, the Transgender this and the Trans Youth this and all of that, they're all about the twins and the alphabet mafia lifestyle. That is what they are about. That is what BLM was giving their money to. Okay, so there is something very nefarious about how BLM even got started. Okay, I'm not talking about even the founders, Patrice Cullors and those other two Black women. I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking, it started before them. Some rich, racist liberal got together and put this together. And they came about and focused on instances where there was a white person or a person that was, you know, a police officer unaliving a Black person and made it about race, and then pushed these people out into the streets. They actually burned down a police station in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Governor Tim Walz resided, right? Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's VP pick, burned a police station down. There have been people unaliving police officers. This is done to promote division. And that's what the Democratic Party does. It does the work of Satan, which does the divide and conquer. This party has always been the same. There's never been a good time in history for them. You've had some little sparks of light with, maybe someone said FDR, maybe JFK. You know what happened to JFK. I just want people to be educated and to know what is really going on, because what the media pushes out, they're hiding a lot of the details and the facts. And then they're putting their narrative around it. They're giving a script, told what to say, told what to highlight, and then we get mad because it was pushed out as something that it wasn't. And then the verdict comes, and to us, it looks like a racist person is going free for getting rid of a Black person. That is what it looks like to a lot of Black people who don't know. But those of us who do know, like myself and many, many others, know better. A narrative is being pushed that is meant to cause us to go up against each other, and I pray against it every day. You all, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America, and march on, warriors.